everyone, I'm Sarah from Sourdough for Beginners. So I'm on my way to my friend Crystal's house. She's never made sourdough before, and my husband challenged me. He thinks that I can just go to my friend's house, not prepare her in any way, not worry about what she's got, just bring my starter, and by the time I leave at the end of the day, she will have a perfect loaf of sourdough. So we're about to hit the road and get there, and let's see if we can get this done. Okay, so we're here. We made it. I can see Crystal's car in the driveway, so I know she's here. We're at her house. Crystal and I have been friends since we were little kids, like 14, 15 years old. And last night she asked me, what do I need? And I said, nothing. You don't need anything. I'm going to bring my starter. As long as you've got some flour, we're good to go. So I'm going to go on and get inside the house and then get my camera set up, and we'll start looking at what she's got and get a mix going. I think it's going to work. We'll see you soon. Oh my gosh. So Crystal's pantry is pretty rad. So Crystal's been in the restaurant industry forever. She loves to cook. She pretty much has like everything. So I think we're probably going to be okay today. She's not completely inexperienced as a baker, but she's never ever made sourdough before. Look how much flour you have. I would die for this much flour. Okay, so I'm here. I made it. I'm with Crystal. We are just about to go through what she's got and talk about like what tools you would use. So when you're out there in the sourdough world, you'll see all of these tools and stuff that you're supposed to have, and people suggesting that you should have a scale. So I'm just gonna start asking Crystal what she's got. She's gonna find it. We're gonna pile it all here, and then we're gonna get a dough mixed up. I did bring my own active starter. That definitely makes things easier. You can, of course, make your starter from scratch. I'll link a video for that. You can buy a dehydrated starter. You can get a gifted starter. If Crystal enjoys the process today, then I'm gonna show how to take some out of this and create a new one so that Crystal can keep some. So Crystal, we need a mixing bowl. We're just gonna make a single loaf today. We need a whisk,
Okay.
a butter knife.
Okay.
Do you have a scale?
I do not.
Okay, so then we're gonna need a couple different kinds of,
bowl?
yeah, that's perfect. And some measuring cups, probably like the kind that pour as well as the kind that you would scoop flour with. Cool, awesome. Perfect. Those are good.
One of those?
No, half cup and 1 cup will probably work.
Right
Fine.
here.
Okay, perfect. Good.
Okay, whiskey head.
Yeah. And
Butter knife?
a butter knife, yeah. And a spoon for mixing, like a mixing spoon. Kind of a sturdy one.
Stainless steel or...
Yeah. Strong, something that won't break.
Okay, so I have... like,
Cool, yeah,
large
that'll do.
stainless steel, or this one is kind of my... for stubborn things.
Okay, oh cool, this one's silicone. Lots of people use the silicone ones. Okay, and we need flour and salt.
Flour and salt?
Okay, so usually when you see me doing the recipe, I'm always using a scale, but we're gonna use cups for Crystal today. Okay.
I might have to go get more. You said 4 cups?
Yeah.
I'll go grab more. I'll bring
Okay.
it up.
Okay, so Crystal went and got some flour, and she got her very cute apron. She's ready to go. So Crystal, do you know what a sourdough starter is?
Nope.
So this is flour and water.
Okay.
Only. It's been fermented, so it's like alive. So this is like a wild yeast. And the way we maintain this is we use it into the bread, and then we refeed it. So when we feed it, it's usually like down here,
Okay.
and then it doubles.
So did you just keep adding flour to it?
Yeah, so, and I'll show you that after, right? But basically what happens, like all those bubbles and everything in
Yeah.
there. So open it and tell me what you think it smells like. Because everybody has this like different idea about a sourdough starter.
Smells just like bread.
Smells like bread, right? A little bit of alcohol.
Well, see, it's beer, but that's the yeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're using, I printed this recipe out of my book. It's in both my books, The Essential Processes and The Discard. And we're putting it down to a single loaf and we're using the cups. So the recipe comes with like grams and cups. And I've just made notes to split it. So first thing we're gonna do is get the starter into the bowl, add water to the starter and use the whisk to get the starter fully dissolved. Okay. So you need just under half a cup of starter. So you can just like scoop right in there and use this knife to like pick it out. Yeah, because it's kind of like thick. And it doesn't have to be exact. It's kind of a wild science. There you go. Good. Yep, so scoop that in there and we'll get that refed after. Perfect. And now I think it says, yeah, that's good.
Do we need to reuse this? Rinse it off?
You should rinse it because everything about sourdough sticks like crazy. And then you need, so we're just going to use Crystal's tap water. She's on a well. There's probably some water softener in there, but I use well water all the time. I think it's fine. There's lots of stuff out there that tells you that you have to use filtered water, you have to use this kind of water, that kind of water. Essentially, if you would drink it, or if you would use it in your other food, then it's fine in your sourdough. So you need 1 1/3.
Cold, warm?
Room temp.
Room temp?
Yeah. It can be cold. It shouldn't be too warm. It's not like commercial yeast. But, you know, room temp is good just to help it dissolve easier. Beauty. Okay, so dump that in there. And then use this to dissolve the starter until it's like milk. Like we want the starter to be totally and fully dissolved. It's kind of sticky, right? It'll get like foamy and milky. She's already a pro. So Crystal and I have been friends since we were 14 and 15 years old. She's worked in the restaurant industry her entire life. She's lived in the same house for what? How long have you been here? 20 years?
Almost. This year, nope, this summer will be 18.
18 years. So she's collected a ton of stuff. So this might be like an unfair one because she's not totally inexperienced at cooking. She bakes regular bread with yeast. You know, she's made me some crazy good pasta suppers. You know, she's always...
That's what I'm having for dinner tonight.
Are you the bolognese? Yeah. She sent me her bolognese recipe. I make it at home all the time. It's like super complicated. There's all kinds of stuff in there. So she's not a total noob in the kitchen, but she's never made sourdough before. And she does regularly make dinner rolls. So, you know, she's like, I don't know, I find bread hard. I can do it, but I just need that process.
Okay, I think there might still be a couple little chunks. I can't quite tell because
it's totally fine. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just get rid of this. I'll rinse it. So you want to measure 4 cups of flour in there.
Packed or airy?
I would say start with sort of loose. So like a lot of times we talk about using a scale, right? Yeah. A scale will make it so that your sourdough is like perfect, right? Yeah. And consistent every time. So especially if you're a newbie and you're learning, you know, the easiest way to troubleshoot if you make a mistake is to do it exactly the same way every time.
Straight in, 4 cups you said?
Yeah, 4 cups, yeah. But you don't actually need a scale, right? It's not necessary. You don't have to worry too much about it. So I would just say just the same way you always measure flour. Is that 3?
3.
Cool. Oh, teaspoons maybe.
Middle drawer.
This one
here? And the little slotty things.
Oh yeah, I got them.
In there.
Okay, so now we're gonna add, how much salt does that say? 1 3/4 teaspoons of salt. Just right on top.
1 3/4?
Yeah. You have to do like 1 and then 1/2 and then 1/4. Might as well just make every single teaspoon dirty.
90% these times these just get wiped off on my shirt and then back in the car.
I saw a meme on Facebook.
And they're good to go.
I saw a meme on Facebook and it was like, the epitome of being an adult is being excited because you just use the measuring cup for water and you don't have to wash it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so take your mixing spoon and first like kind of blend on top to get the salt to mix in with the flour, and then like start mixing it until it like absorbs all of the water, and then you're gonna have to switch to your hand.
Okay.
Right, just to get it like
and
mixed.
now does
really
it matter?
good.
Am I supposed to stay in one direction?
Nope, nothing special. So Crystal like knows about bread and how finicky it can be. And sourdough is not hard, but there's a certain set of processes, but she's about to figure out how easy it is. It's literally just flour, water, and salt. You do have starter, but that's like, you know, your standard kind of starter. So just like use your spoon to like push it down to make it like so that the water.
You want all of it incorporated?
Yeah,
because there's no liquid left.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You just want to like kind of push. So you know when you make bread, right? And you knead with sourdough, it's too like it's too sticky to knead, and you can't really like keep adding flour.
Okay.
So what we do is something called stretching and folding. Okay. Have you heard of that before?
No, really? I mean, I can visualize.
Yeah. So now I would just like take your hands, wipe off the spoon, and then just use your hands to like get it all incorporated. It'll sort of soak up all the, like mix it good. So we're kind of at like shaggy dough now. And since you measured by cups, right? Like since you didn't use a scale, in your case, like if it's seeming too dry, then we might just add like a tiny bit of water just to make it so that we get the right consistency. So let me just add a little drop. And we're just gonna try and get it to soak it all up. If it's too thick, then. And at this point, all we're looking for is a shaggy dough. So it doesn't matter like if some of the flour isn't fully incorporated yet. You know what I mean? So I'm literally just adding like half a teaspoon at a time because her dough is looking really dry. So here's the thing with cups and scales. If you're using a scale, then you're kind of getting you're getting exactly 500 grams of flour and exactly 350 grams of water. Whereas with cups, right? If she didn't pack the cup, like the first question she asked me is, do you want it packed or do you want it loose, right? So we might need to make an adjustment. But her sourdough is starting to make noise now. It's making that, right? So that's good. We don't want it to be wet or soaked, but we want it to be sticky.
More than sticky. Slimy is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just gonna mix that up. Okay, so you can rinse your hands. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this sit for about 30 minutes and then we're gonna start the stretching and folding process. So that's it, she's done. She got it mixed. And while we're waiting for this to rest 30 minutes before we do our first stretch and fold, we will refeed our starter. Okay, so while we're waiting, so we're trying to wait 30 minutes to do a stretch and fold. And the essential process that we teach is 4 sets of stretch and folds every 30 minutes. Okay. So basically it takes around 2 hours. Now, if you're in a rush, you can speed that up. What stretching and folding is doing is essentially the same thing that kneading bread does. Yeah. You know how when you like knead, it starts like right now that dough's like not together. It starts to get like elastic. Yep. You're building strength in. Okay. So there's ways when you're experienced to know that the bread is strong enough. Like you can just feel it, right? And someone like you who has some experience, you would probably know. Yeah. But when we're teaching beginners, what we say is the safe thing to do is just do the stretch and fold. So while we're waiting, what we'll do is refeed the starter. So the way the starter works is it is fermented. It's an established starter. This one's like used all the time. It's mine, right? Yep. So it's like super strong. And the way you keep starters alive is to just keep feeding them new flour and water. Okay. So you just use this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to refeed it. And then do you have a jar about this size or something similar?
Yeah, I'm sure I can find something.
Because what we can do is once we feed it is we can scoop some out for you and you can put it in the fridge. Okay. And then the way starters work with an established starter. So when you're first establishing a starter, it needs to stay on the counter and be fed every day.
Okay.
Like while you wait for it. And then after like 7 or 8 days, you'll start to get that first rise.
Okay.
And when you're establishing it, it'll smell like booze. It'll get like super watery, right? And then you get it stabilized. But once it's strong like this, it can live in the fridge. And what we say is either feed it once every 7 days just to keep it happy, or feed it 4 to 12 hours before you bake.
Oh, okay.
Right? So if you wanted to bake in the morning before you take us to school or whatever, you could feed your starter before bed, leave it sitting on the counter. By the time you come down in the morning, it'll have doubled.
Okay.
And you use the starter at or after peak.
Okay.
So when it comes up doubled like that.
Okay. And I assume that's what the band is for?
Yeah, it shows you where you were when you started, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I don't really need it. It's just habit that it's there because, you know.
You get to know it, yeah.
Yeah. But like if you, and the longer past peak you use it, the more sour flavor you get.
Oh, okay.
Because it just keeps fermenting, right? Like that beer smell, the longer you leave it, the more it eats through the flour, right? Okay. So you end up being able to use it. Okay. So we are going to feed this 1/2 cup of flour.
Okay. Where did our, we washed that one.
And about 1/4 cup of water. And you can kind of make it like...
Yeah, is that the same ratio you use when you're starting?
Yeah. So what I usually do is...
And is that what you start with? 1/2 cup or more?
So flour, water waste as much as flour, so does starter.
Okay.
So you usually leave about 1/4 cup of starter in your jar, which we have a little more than that right now, and do 1/2 cup of flour and 1/4 cup of water. If you ever go heavy on anything, go heavy on the flour. Okay. Because that's what, like the eating of the flour, the water is just kind of making it so that it will break down, but the flour that it eats is the most important thing. Okay. So just dump that in there. And then this is a little over 1/4 cup. I would say like maybe we'll just go a little less. So you just dump this in there now.
Straight on.
And then you just stir it. You have to use your muscles.
Now I was gonna say, so when you first like start, is there such thing as like working this?
No.
Like once it gets going, it doesn't matter how often you poke around in it or something. Leave it for its first time to rise, but then after that, it's...
Yeah. It takes about a week to 10 days to activate a starter of feeding it every single day. Okay. And making sure and like watching it get hungry and everything else. But no, once it's established, like we could actually feed this right now, wait for it to rise about 4 hours from now and bake with it again in the same day. Right?
As long as you give it that rest period.
As long as it's like it continuing to be fed, which wakes it up, right? Yeah. So once you get that all mixed in, kind of scrape it down, and then we'll see if we can find...
I don't see any more dry spots. It looks like it's...
Yeah, looks good.
And now, does it matter if there's like little dry spots or pockets?
No, it'll eat
as long as you get it in?
Yeah. Yeah, you just want to do it. And like I said, I don't clean my jar every day. I clean, like, so eventually this will get so crusty on the edge that it'll cut my finger.
Really? When
I go to take the lid off. Like, there's so much, like, hard, like, stuff on there. So then I'll just dump this, like, into a new jar and wash this one. But really, I just use the same jar. So if you have a jar that you're willing to make your starter home, like, forever.
Yeah, because it'll stay.
Yeah.
Does it matter if it's glass or plastic? No. Okay.
Yeah, you can use plastic. The only thing that really matters
is... Do you have a jar? Give me 2 seconds. I will go get one.
Sealed lid, that's it.
Okay.
Okay, so Crystal had this awesome jar, which, like I said, Crystal's like a little better off than some people. You've collected some stuff. I filmed her pantry downstairs. When I was texting her yesterday, I was like, can I just come make sourdough with you? She's like, what do I need? I'm like, we're going to use what you have. As long as you have flour, then you're good to go. And she's like, do I have flour? And she took me down to her pantry and she has like buckets and all this whole stuff. Okay, so what you're going to do is take about 1/4 cup. It doesn't have to be exact, right? Okay. Out of here and put it into that jar. I know, it's like so thick. So the way this starts, yeah, maybe a little, just one more little scoop, yeah. But it starts thick like this, and then by the time you use it, it's thinned out quite a bit, right? Okay, so now these starters are going to rise in 4 hours because we've just fed them, right? So what I do is I let it rise and then I stick it in the fridge at peak.
Okay.
Right? And you're starting with 1/4 of a cup, right? So if you decide you want to bake now, say like in a few days, then you would pull that out of the fridge, feed it, right? You're going to need about 2/3 of a cup for your recipe, right? Which is what we just did.
Yep.
Like if you want to replicate exactly what we did. So feed it 1/2 cup of starter and 1/4 cup of the water. Wait for it to rise. Bake with it. Then you'll be back down sort of to this amount, right? Refeed it, let it rise, and then you just repeat the process.
Okay.
If you go away for a couple weeks, like, because I know you guys go up north and stuff, right? Or like if you forget about it for a month, as long as it doesn't mold, it's still alive.
It's good?
Yeah. So if you get in the fridge and you open it up and like it reeks like alcohol, there's like gray, like foamy liquid on top, that's called hooch.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
Right? It's just that it won't taste good. It'll be super sour.
Oh,
so
okay.
all you'll want to do is just feed it to activate it. And if you feed it, so say a month goes by and you don't feed this thing, as long as it didn't develop mold, you might just want to give it a couple of feedings.
Okay.
So we call that discarding, right? So give it a feed, let it double, discard some off just so your jar doesn't overflow, like throw it away, right? Because it'll be super strong.
Yeah.
And then refeed it again till it starts to be like
the more mellow
bready smell.
Okay.
And then you can use it, right?
Okay.
So for me, like I use mine all the time. Nope. I use mine all the time, so I don't ever have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And like if you wanted to keep it healthy, then feed it once a week, you know?
Okay.
And then the other thing is too, like you can share it with your
Now,
friends.
when you're saying feed it always that same amount, or even just like throwing in like a spoon of flour and a little bit of water, like
You want to keep your
measurement going.
Yeah, you kind of always want to feed it more flour than there is starter in there.
Okay.
Right? Because it like it eats through whatever you feed it. So if you only gave it like a tablespoon, it'll keep going hoochie, right?
Oh, okay.
But you can feed it what you need. So say for example, you want to make the full recipe, like the full recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of active starter, right? Well, if you fed it 1/2 cup of flour and 1/4 cup of water, that works out perfectly. Okay. So that you've got 3/4 of a cup. But say it's Christmas time and you want to have 4 loaves instead of 2, then you can actually just feed it a cup of flour and 1/2 cup of water, as long as you've got room in your jar, right? Yeah. So you can adjust it that way.
But just always keep it the 1-to-2 ratio, whatever you're putting in.
Yeah, and then you can share this with your friends too. Like you can do the exact same thing we just did, scoop it out and.
So this is the full recipe, and this is what we're doing for.
Yeah, we're doing a single.
A double. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, and if you ever end up with a scale, right? These are so the cups aren't as accurate.
Yeah.
But it'll work out. Okay, so before we go rest for a bit, hasn't quite been 30 minutes, but Crystal can do her first stretch and fold, so I'm just gonna get her set up.
So, and what did you say for this now?
Let that rise.
And it doesn't have to like go in the dark or the fridge or anything, just wait till it doubles, then it can go in the fridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just leave it sitting there. And like even today, like while we're going through this process, they'll rise.
All right.
Like, oh, and you know what? I'll give you, and here's my elastic will fit yours.
Oh, I have a million.
Do you? Okay. Yeah, just get one that will fit, because then you always know where it started.
I even have a pretty purple one.
Beauty. Yeah, because then you know, right?
There?
Yeah. And you can just adjust it as you need it.
Okay.
Okay, so stretching and folding is just like kneading, but it's like more gentle.
Okay.
So when you first mixed your dough, it would like stick to your hands. If you tried to pick it up, it would rip. By the time you're done stretching and folding, you'll be able to like pick the dough up in one ball and hold it and it'll bounce.
Oh, okay.
Right? That's the kind of electricity.
Okay.
So when we're stretching and folding, we don't want to be timid. What you want to do is like, so just put some water here, right? Is like get your hand not soaked, but just like just damp, because we don't really want to add any water to the dough, but we want to prevent it from sticking. And then what we're going to do is we're going to scoop under the dough, pull it straight up and fold it down on top of itself. Turn the bowl north, south, east, west. We'll do that about 4 times. And what you'll notice is even from the first stretch and fold, like the first one you do, if you pulled way up, it would go and it would rip. But even towards the end of the first stretch and fold, it'll start to build strength. You'll be able to feel it.
All right. Okay. So And we just need one hand.
Yep. So get right
underneath it.
Yeah.
And just lift it up to about over top.
No, pull like this.
Pull it up.
Yeah. And then flip it on top of itself like this. Watch. So we want to go under it. And what we're trying to do is like.
Oh, you are still wanting it to go in. Okay. All right. All right. So then switch the bowl.
Yeah, I get it. That's right. It's just like kneading, right? There you go. So do that, you know, for 5 or 6 times.
Okay,
but
do
see
I need
how
to re-wet or no?
Sure, yeah. You just want to make it not stick to you. But we don't want to add too much water because it'll make it like more sticky, you know? So see how it's like starting to get smoother now, like that that chunkiness is going away.
So just keep going?
Yeah. So just do it 3 or 4 times. So now all we're gonna do is we're just gonna let this
got, like,
rest.
A pretty tough ball shape.
Yeah, yeah. So see now if you pick it up, it won't like
It's a little slidey, but
it'll slide and right. But if we do these stretch and folds like this, then what we're doing is getting the gluten.
How am I like until it'll take a full-on ball shape, or
no? I would just let it rest.
Leave it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So rinse your hand and then cover it back up. And what we're gonna do is like 30-minute rest, stretch and fold. 30-minute rest, stretch and fold.
Okay.
Right. This one's looking fairly strong. So we'll get 3 in, and then we'll get it into proofing. Do you have a container kind of like that one?
That's okay.
Yeah. As long as it's got straight sides.
Yep.
Like it's clear and you can see it and it's straight sides.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll be back for more stretching and folding.
Good.
Okay, so we're gonna do our second set of stretch and folds. So look, it's starting to get like smooth. So same thing as before. And then the next step after this is bulk proofing. So you know when you make like regular bread with yeast, right? It usually takes like an hour or 2 to rise. Well, sourdough, because it's not as strong as commercial yeast, actually takes somewhere between like 4 and 8 hours to rise. So what you're gonna do is like leave it sitting until it doubles in size, and then you're gonna bake it. That's looking good.
Yeah,
pick it up.
Elastic there.
So Crystal actually built some really great strength. So we're just gonna do one more stretch and fold after this, and then we'll get it into the bulk proofing container. So cover that up, and then I'll show you this. So just to save time, because Crystal and I both have lives, what I did this morning was get a loaf mixed up. So we're actually gonna start preheating the oven right now and figuring out what we're gonna bake in based on what she's got. And I'm gonna show you this. So when I put my dough in this container, I use clear, straight-sided containers because it lets you see like how much it rose. Yeah. So these markings, like this morning, it wasn't touching here, it was touching here, right? Yeah. And what we want is either, if we're gonna bake the same day, we want it to 100% double. Okay. If we're gonna stick it in the fridge overnight, then we wanna let it go to about 75%. Okay. Then we shape it, and so we do like a pre-shape, which I'll get you to do in a minute, and then we do a final shape, and then we get it in the oven. Right. So with this batch that Crystal's working on, we're gonna get one more stretch and fold in, and then we're gonna push that dough into this container, which she owns, which works just as well. It's round and it's glass, but it's clear. The sides are straight. She's going to be able to see it double. She's going to mark her height and then keep an eye on it for the rest of the day. And then either later today at supper time while you're making supper, just bake it. Okay. That's probably the best thing. Yep. Or you can stick it in the fridge overnight, but I don't recommend that when you're a beginner, right? Okay. So you'll have already baked this one, so you'll know how to do it. And then you can just send me a picture of how it turns out. All right. Okay, cool. So what, do you have a Dutch oven?
Like a pot Dutch oven?
With a lid that can go in the oven?
Oh, no, yeah.
Let's see.
How big do I need?
Probably...
This one?
Yeah. So she has a Dutch oven, which is, again, Crystal's got like some extra stuff. So if she didn't have that, then we would use like a loaf pan. Okay. Do you have parchment paper?
I do.
Okay. And tin foil.
Yep.
Cool. So this is a little big, but it's going to work. No, because I think those other ones up there might be too small. But
well, I have this one that I just put away. Hang on.
This actually isn't too bad. This is 4.5. I think that's too small. I think that one's too small too. Small? Yeah. Okay, so this is a KitchenAid 4.25 liter. Oh, this is fine. Mine's 4.1. So this is going to work great. So what we're going to do, Crystal, is we're going to, let's check out Crystal's oven. So we need, yeah, this is going to work great. So we're going to get this Dutch oven in there.
Okay.
And then we're going to preheat the oven to 450
Okay.
with it in there.
Okay.
And then the only other thing is, do you have like a cookie, like a cake tray? Like a 9x12
So I've got
metal.
a small narrow one.
Yeah,
I've got
perfect.
that one.
Okay, so take that, fill it about like a third full of water and put
water
it
bath?
on the,
Oh, just below it?
yeah, on the rack below it. So all that's gonna do is keep the bottom of your bread from getting super hot.
Okay.
Okay, so we're doing good. So Crystal has followed the essential processes so far. She's taken her active starter, she's dissolved it in water, she's added in her flour and salt, she's mixed her dough to a shaggy dough, she's waited 30 minutes, stretched and fold, waited 30 minutes, stretch and fold. We're gonna do one more stretch and fold. Then she's gonna get her dough into the ball proofing
So water's
container.
going in with the Dutch oven now?
Yeah, underneath.
I might have to just
We just wanna make sure. If you have to go up
I
one,
might have to go
okay.
up one. I was hoping.
Will the Dutch oven still fit?
Yeah. No, it's just because if it hadn't been for the underbars, it would have been perfect. But my cross I do have a narrower one if this doesn't work. Oh no.
Well, we want to
now
make
it
sure
will
the
fit.
water's not going to cook off.
On here.
Oh yeah, that'll work
Smaller,
great.
but
Yeah, that's perfect. As long as it just, all of that's doing, the tray of water, is keeping the bottom of the bread from getting like too hard to cut.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is pre-shape this dough.
Okay.
So sourdough's sticky, right? Like when you deal with sourdough, and after it rises and gets all kinds of air in it, it gets even more sticky.
Okay.
So if you were to just try to like shape this dough into a loaf, it would just be a mess, right? So what we're gonna do is dump this dough out onto the counter. We're not gonna use any flour, no water.
Okay.
We're gonna use, so people usually use like a bench scraper. You might have something like it. It's like a flat rectangle thing that's
I
got
have
like,
a plastic one.
yeah, that'll work perfect. She's got lots of stuff. I actually use like a lettuce knife.
Yeah.
Like one of those like square
Yeah.
ones. I have these, but so all we're gonna do is dump our dough out and take this on the counter, and we're just gonna like try to touch it as low as we can and start working around it until we form it into a ball.
Okay.
And like the point is that we're trapping air in there, but we're also putting like a skin
Okay.
on the top. Like we're sort of getting rid of the stickiness, and then we're gonna let that sit for 20 minutes. It'll start to like spread. And once it's spread out, then we're gonna throw some flour on the counter. We're gonna flip it over, shape it the way they shape sourdough, and then we're gonna get it in the oven and bake it. Okay, so pop that lid off. These are like my containers. So you can see
Was
it's
this
like,
fine with the grout?
oh yeah, it'll be fine. Just stay in here.
Okay.
So it's like kind of sticky, like
Yeah.
it's like sticking to the
Dollar
edges.
underneath.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
just want to get it out onto the thing. You
Alright.
can use like you can kind of just tip it right
Oh, it
upside
will kind
down.
of pull?
Kind of. You'll have to like start it with your finger. Yeah. And then it'll eventually just start falling out all on its own. So this is a low hydration recipe. So the way we teach is we start off with not very much water. So it gives you like a stiff dough, right? But once you're good at it and you understand how sourdough works. So Crystal and I actually always talk about understanding how food works. Then you can start adding way more water.
Okay.
And the more water there is in your dough, the stickier it is, the harder it is to manage. But you end up with like more air pockets and like a crispier crust with nice blisters. So high hydration is actually like a good thing to do. But when we're a beginner, right? So if you try to like work with this right now, it sticks to your fingers. But by the time you're done pre-shaping it, so all you're gonna do is like start here like this and come around and get it to unstick and just keep going around if you need to slide it back over. But what you're trying to not do is squish it.
Okay.
And you're trying to make it like
Build it up.
stand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you're just trying to get as much of it off.
Yeah, and you can use your
as much
other
as you can.
hand to
Okay.
like start pushing it together.
Okay, so you can push it.
Yeah, just don't let it stick to you. Like there's, yeah, there you
Okay.
go. There's like a, try not to flip it. Watch this. So
okay.
like this. So go around
Yep.
and together.
Oh, so you're actually trying to make a ball.
yeah,
out
like
of it, not
together
just
like
build it
that.
up.
Yeah,
Okay,
so you're
okay.
kind of like pushing it into itself. Like imagine
Okay.
like
And you're trying to get like actually clearance underneath it as well.
kind
Oh,
of.
that
yeah.
made it worse.
Just and you can't hurt it, right? Like
Would my hand be a tad wet or no?
no, you can if you want, but I don't usually. But
Just
all you're
because
trying to
like
do, so remember in kindergarten when they had that like rainbow, like colored, like canvas thing and all the kids would
Oh
hold
yes,
it.
the umbrella,
and you'd
yeah,
flip it up and
parachute
then-
or whatever.
Yeah, and it would like flip over your head and then you could sit inside of it because the air was
Yeah.
holding it up. Essentially that. Perfect. Good.
Oh, is that
So you
good, or
can-
we gotta keep going?
You're doing good. Keep going. So you can use a little bit of pressure from your hand now.
Oh, okay.
Because you'll notice now, like
I'm
your
just trying to,
stickiness
like,
is going away. Yeah.
Plop it up from the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Good. Beauty. Yep. Good. So it gets easy, right? Once you've had some practice. But yeah, perfect.
Keep going.
Yeah. So see how you're starting to get like air bubbles
Yeah.
on top now? Like you've got like a nice bubble here.
Okay.
What you're doing is trapping air
Putting
into
air
it and
in it.
starting to get the gluten structure to like stand up straight. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So now even maybe just like take your hands and like form it into like a ball.
Okay, all right.
Like just gently like
Yep.
this.
Okay.
And see, like the idea is like make it stand up as high as it'll stand. And then we're just gonna leave it sitting there for like
Okay.
20 minutes. So we start our Dutch oven preheating before we pre-shape, and then by the time we're done shaping, our Dutch oven's hot enough. So we're probably gonna need like something so we can sit the Dutch oven here without burning the counter.
Okay, I've got my cutting board.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Okay, how much longer am I going with this? Because I
You're
feel
good.
like I'm flattening it more than I'm doing
No,
anything
you're good.
else.
Just leave it now.
Leave it? Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. So there's like all kinds of nice air
Little
bubbles.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll come shape in just a minute.
All right.
Okay, so we're gonna pre-shape this
Okay.
and then get it into the oven. So I'll just tell you the process first so that you know. Do you have something very sharp like a razor or a box cutter?
Yeah.
We need that.
For kitchen use?
Yeah, like
Hang on.
we're gonna just score the bread with it.
Oh, okay. Well, here, I'll just.
Yeah, that'll work.
Well, hang on,
That'll
I'll
work.
get a
So
fresh blade on there.
normally we use like a scoring tool, but one of those will work perfect.
That way it hasn't been gross stuff.
Gross stuff. Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna use this. All right, let me
Okay.
just straighten this up a little. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take, that's just a little crooked, let me make it straighter. We're gonna take so a piece of tinfoil that's about this big. We're gonna like loosely crumple it up and then pull it out. And that, when we pull out the Dutch oven, the tinfoil is gonna go in first.
Okay.
And then we're gonna take a piece of parchment paper that's just a square, put a little bit of flour on it. Once we've shaped the dough, it'll be lifted onto the parchment paper.
Okay.
So we'll pull out the Dutch oven, we'll plunk the tinfoil in it, then we'll use the parchment paper like a sling,
Okay.
pick up the bread,
Okay.
put it into the Dutch oven, get the lid on, get it in the oven. Okay. What we're gonna do with this, so with the bread,
So tinfoil first. This stays on the parchment.
and
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and we're gonna bake it for 30 minutes total with the lid on,
Okay.
and then 20 minutes with the lid off.
Okay.
And then at that point, we're gonna keep checking it till it gets up to temp. Do you have a meat thermometer? We don't need it yet. But
I have. Let me see here. Yes.
yeah, that'll
That
work
one?
perfect.
Okay.
So we want the bread to come to 205. So when we shape this, we need to cut a score.
Okay.
Because the way it works is like when it goes into the oven, it's going to be flat like this,
Yeah.
but it gets what's called oven spring. So all that like nice air that we trapped in there, we're going to do sort of the same thing again and trap some good air in.
Okay.
And then we're going to cut a score line. And what the score line will do is let the air will like build
it
up
somewhere
inside and
to
then it
go.
goes like poof and
Yeah.
pops and you'll
Okay.
get like an ear.
Okay.
So first of all, get your tinfoil ready.
A square, you said?
Yeah, or like just like imagine the bottom of the Dutch oven. Yeah. So just like crinkle it.
Like straight up, or?
Yeah, and then just pull it back out again. So all that's doing is going under your parchment paper. It's like an air barrier.
Okay.
So all we're focusing on is trying to make it so the bottom of the bread doesn't burn. Okay. Okay. And then you need a piece of parchment paper.
You want it still wrinkled though, right?
Yeah, just like that. Yeah. Okay. So grab your flour and sprinkle just a little bit of flour onto the parchment paper. Just like, yeah.
A little more?
Yeah. You just want to make it so the bread doesn't stick. And then a little bit of flour on your counter here. A good amount here, actually. Like, not a lot, but yeah. Great. Perfect. Okay. So to shape sourdough, what we're going to do is we'll get our thumbs underneath this.
Okay.
We'll pull like and gently stretch it like this. It'll kind of stick to the counter.
Yeah.
And then we're going to flip it over and lay it flat.
Okay. So you want this whole top kind of right on there.
Yeah.
All right.
But we kind of want to give it like a little bit of a
there?
stretch. Yeah. Stretch.
More.
Now come up and flip. Great. And now just gently like stretch this into like a little bit bigger of a square.
Right under
Beauty.
or?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so now we're gonna make a pamphlet. So we're gonna fold the top third down and the bottom third up. Just like that, yeah? And the bottom third.
On top of
Beauty. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna
sticky
come
stuff
from
in
the
there?
end here like this, and what we're gonna do is hold on, is like slightly stretch as we roll.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just
And
like
we're
a
just
light.
gonna keep doing the stretching as we're rolling?
Yep, until it gets to the end, like, and then we'll sort of flip it onto the counter and let it sit. Yep, just like that. Okay, so now you have sort of your dough shape, right? So you're just gonna sort of stretch your dough like this and try to close up your ends a little.
Okay.
You kind of have to like hold it just for a second until it like glues itself.
Okay.
Beauty. So see, we're being super gentle with it, so all the air that's in there, right? And we're making it stand up nice. So now I would just like take my hands like this and just kind of like
Round it out a little bit.
yeah. Well, if you want a round, do you want a round or a rectangle?
Whatever. Go.
Yeah, good. Okay, so now gently lift that on here, just like that.
Doesn't matter which way. Or?
Nope.
Okay.
And then grab a bunch of flour and sprinkle it on top. Beauty. And just kind of like gently rub it in. Yeah. There we go. So now for your score, you want your score to be almost parallel to the counter, like on this angle. And you want to start here and come around here, and you want to be about 1/2 inch deep.
1/2 inch deep?
Yeah. So try to just go like me. And if it doesn't go deep enough the first time, you can always go over it again.
Okay, so right at the top there?
Yeah. Beauty.
Is it gonna actually pull through?
Just
or
like
can I
kind
hold
of
it?
wiggle as you go. Yeah, you can hold it. Yeah. Beauty. Good. That's great. So then, you know, like once you get more experience, you can like cut other ones in, you know what I mean? But see how it's opened up here? And we're going to check that score again 10 minutes after it starts baking. So we'll just keep the knife out.
All right.
So now we just want to grab our Dutch oven.
Right.
Do we need something to put it on?
I can go right here, can it? Or, oh, you want it over there.
Well,
You
no,
can
it's
see
okay.
Oh,
It can
hang
go
on.
there.
I'll grab my cutting board. Got my little guy somewhere. Oh, right there under your apron.
Oh yeah, perfect. That'll work out. Yeah, so just plunk your Dutch oven there. Be careful not to burn yourself. Beauty. Okay. And then get your lid off. Perfect. Okay.
Tin foil first?
Yeah, just be careful. And then just use
like
this
that's
like a
fine.
sling and just lift it in kind of long ways. Like
I
that.
want.
Yep, just like that. Beauty. Now pop your lid back on. Perfect.
Back in.
Yeah. Do you have a timer?
I do.
Perfect. So we'll set our timer for 10 minutes.
And right, just squarely over the water again there.
Yep. So what happens with the with the scoring? So if your bread is overproofed, right? If it's gone too long, when you get it, like I don't know if you noticed, but when we cut it, your bread kind of stayed up, like it stayed round like this.
Yeah.
If you accidentally overproof your bread, like if you go out or forget about it, when you try to shape it, it'll just fall.
Oh, okay.
Right? And what'll happen is that score line that you cut will fuse together. So there's something called a hot score. So 10 minutes in, we're going to pull it out. And if it looks like the score is fusing, like if
Okay.
it's disappearing, you just cut it again.
Cut it again. Okay.
And that'll let the steam escape.
Okay.
So we'll just finish this one now.
This one.
So do
Yeah,
your
there
last
you go.
stretch and fold.
Oh yes, yes.
And-
water. Did we dump that?
It's right there. And then you can get it into your proofing container. So just do like a quick stretch and fold on this one and then transfer it from that bowl into
It's
here.
really stuck.
Yeah, it's starting to get like nice like gluten structure to
Is
it.
that good then?
Yeah, so lift it out and plunk it in here. Beauty.
Now are you pushing it down? or
Yeah,
just
so what I
leaving
actually do is like get my hands like a little wet on the back and use my fists and kind of like just push it down until it's like as level as you can
it?
get
Oh,
it.
okay, okay.
Like, you know, like kind of whatever. And now from here, it's going to sit for, it's probably going to take like about 4 hours, between 4 and 8, but your house is really warm. So basically what you're wanting is for this to double
Good.
in size. Yeah. So plunk your lid on, dry your
Is it
hands.
supposed to stick to the side or
Yeah,
does it
kind
matter?
of. Yeah,
Okay.
it looks good. It looks really good.
Alrighty, and we're doing a marker line, you said now?
Yeah, you can either draw all the way around or I would just mark, like, see how it's low here? Like I would mark that and that and just give yourself an idea.
Yes. I've never done it before.
Yeah, that's how I do it. I always go all the way around. Beauty. So now you just leave it sitting
Okay.
and once it's like
Double.
doubled, but remember double
Fill
is
that.
like pretty much, but the thing is you don't want to go too far past double. So see like how it's low here?
Yeah.
That line's going to show you. So like
Yeah.
you're basically going to try and go to like, let's say if you were to go, because it's going to go flat. So what happens with sourdough is it doesn't expand up like yeast bread does. Like, you know, when you wait for your yeast bread to rise, it kind of like goes in like upwards in a ball.
Yeah.
Sourdough goes like outwards.
Oh, okay.
It fills in like all of the
Okay.
voids.
Well, because I was gonna say, so there's a little void here you can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So
I think
here,
that's the only one that has a. Oh no, there's a void on that side.
On
at
the bottom.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that'll fill into and.
yeah, so this
Okay.
top line that I've made, it's not necessarily double from the line that we drew,
Yeah.
but it accounts for filling in all those voids. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So like here, it's like only like half,
A little wee bit. Yeah.
but here it's like almost tripled,
yeah.
right?
But
So
that's because it's filling instead of rising.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
then when this is done, you're just gonna dump it out, pre-shape it, let it rest, shape it, bake it. That's it, we're done. We're just gonna wait for this bread to come out. So I'll start the
Okay.
video again when we do the hot score.
All right. So again, same as just room temperature.
Yep.
Doesn't. Okay.
I usually sit it beside my
Do we need
stove
the
where it's warm.
parchment or?
Okay, so Crystal's 10 minutes in. She's gonna pull the Dutch oven out, get it up on the counter here, and just check to see how her score looks, and if needed, recut it. So, yeah. Pop that over there. How's it looking?
I think that's.
So, okay, so it's starting
Fused, or
to
what do you
fuse a
say?
little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
it's starting to connect. So just take your
need to
knife.
show that.
Not really. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like not too bad, right? But it's starting to connect. So just take your knife, don't
again?
burn yourself, and just up here, like just cut
On
it.
the top line
again,
now?
or even like in this dent here, anywhere. Just all you're
Is
trying
it
to
going
do
to be
is.
the hacking kind again?
Well, let's
or
see.
what?
Let's see what happens. Yeah, perfect. Just do that across. So all we're doing is making it so that the steam escapes.
It's got somewhere. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, sourdough usually looks like it does a fold.
Got like
thing,
an
right?
ear. They call it an ear.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So now we're gonna put it back in the
on.
oven for 20 minutes with the lid on. And then after 20 minutes, we'll take the lid off and let it finish cooking. Beauty. Okay, we'll be back in 20 minutes.
20 on.
Good? Yeah. Okay, so we've been in for 30 minutes with the lid on, 20 minutes with the lid off. It's looking amazing. So Crystal's just gonna test the temp of this bread. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. So just like stick it in underneath the ear here, like wherever you can see like a natural hole.
Right there.
Yeah. And
Oh,
like,
neat.
like
Middle?
middle. Yep. And we're trying to do 205 Fahrenheit. Cool. Might be pretty close. Looks like it's gonna stop like around 180, 190. Okay, so pop it back in
I
for
think
like
about
5
180.
minutes.
I
Yeah.
think that's about where it is, I would say.
So it'll pop up like the temperature really fast at the end.
Okay.
So just pop it back
Same
in.
thing,
Yeah.
Lid off.
And if it's starting to get more brown than you want, you could pop the lid back on. Like, that's up to you.
Well, I don't know what's...
I think it's fine.
Okay.
I think it's fine. Just set the timer for 5, yeah. And we'll check it again in 5 minutes. So the thing with sourdough is like people are always like, oh, my bread's gummy on the inside, right? One of the ways to make sure is to make sure it's just like really cooked.
Okay.
So it should probably in 5 minutes be
there. Okay.
Yeah, done. And then we'll pull it and see how it goes.
8 at this age, like.
Oh my gosh, our friend stuff is happening so much. We're like blah 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 blah, but we're trying to pay attention to our bread.
Same hole or different hole?
Same hole, different hole, whatever you think. Don't laugh at that. It's inappropriate.
Well, she's moving a little quicker this time.
Yeah, like I said, that last like little bit. Like some people just stick to times, but every oven's different, right? And also like in the summer, it'll cook faster, right? So this just kind of like assures you that it's good.
Okay, so it's gonna be about the same.
Slowing down. Try like another hole. Maybe that one's just like open. Let's just try it in here. See what we're at. It doesn't want to move.
It's even actually a little less.
All right, so let's pop the lid back on and put it in for like 5 more minutes just to keep it from over browning.
Okay.
And then
trap some of that heat in there too, probably a little bit.
Cool. And then I think after this one it'll be good to go. Back in the oven. Okay, we're gonna check again. I was just telling Crystal, if we're not at 205 this time, it looks done according to my experienced eye. So we're gonna end it, but we'll still just test it. It looks so good. Do you have a rack?
I do. Are we testing air again?
Yeah.
New hole?
Yeah, just watch your arm. Perfect. See what that does. Oh, it's moving fast now. Still slow.
Still slowing down on the same thing.
I'm wondering if Crystal's thermometer might not be used to going up to 205 because that's like pretty high. Like usually these meat thermometers are used for like between 145 and 180 with meat. And theoretically they go, but the thing is that it's stopping exactly at 180 every time. And this loaf looks good. So I'm just gonna pull the plug with the caveat that you should go to 205 if you have a thermometer, but if you don't, then you can just give it a good guess. So
like knocking on it.
you just wanna just grab this
Yep.
and lift it out onto the rack. Don't worry about the tinsel yet. And then we'll, if we can, like slide it off the parchment. Yeah.
Okay, so we're done with the oven?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it looks awesome. Look how beautiful it is. Okay.
So we're just gonna slide her off.
Yeah, don't burn yourself though. You might need your thing. Always be like a little sticky. Cool. So now you have to do the hard part, which is let it cool for at least an hour.
Okay.
If you cut into it too soon, it keeps cooking. But look how beautiful it is.
Nice.
Perfect bottom. It should be hollow. Let's see. Nice and hollow. Really good ear. And she did it all by herself. Cool. All right. Well,
so
that's
hour
it.
and a half, just uncovered.
Yep. So Crystal's going to drive me home soon. And then later today, she's going to cut that open and send me a picture of how it looks on the inside. And then she's also got her one that she mixed by herself going. And then also check out her starter that she made. It's already started to double.
So what is today? March 1st?
March 1st, yeah. Okay, that's it. Cool. We did it.
4.
So I made it home from Crystal's and that was such a fun day. And I could already tell by the time I left that it had worked. So if I wonder, you know, when we teach the essential processes, are they really simple enough that everyone can get it? I think the answer is yes, they are. I already got a picture from Crystal. I'll post it in the video. She cut into the loaf that we baked and it looks perfect. There's like a tiny line of gummy along the bottom, but that might be because we took it out when the thermometer was saying 180 because we weren't sure if the thermometer was working properly or not. But otherwise it's crispy, it's perfect. She had never done sourdough ever in her life. I think it was an awesome experiment. So I'm pretty sure that Crystal is going to be episode 1 of many. I have been talking to Crystal. She's actually going to take the mix that she made herself that went into the round glass bowl and bake that tomorrow. And she promised to send me pictures as she goes. So I will get those uploaded into the video too. And I'm just hoping that now that she's by herself and I'm not with her, everything that she's learned is going to carry. She seemed excited when I left. Like before I was leaving, she actually took down a whole bunch of notes and asked a bunch of questions. And I know that she loves to cook, so I kind of feel like sourdough might just be a thing for her now. And that makes me happy. She's a really good friend of mine. I really love her. And that was fun. I also just appreciate that Rick said you should go try this. So who knows, sourdough home visits might be a thing. I think it was great, and I'm glad you stayed and watched with us. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye.